Hello, it's ElectraSnow and welcome to the second Halloween tutorial of 2017. This new wig that I got recently gave me the inspiration to do this blinded elf, so let's get them pointed ears at the ready and get to it. With this transformation I'm starting off with the brows first, and I'm using a matte Inglot Eyeshadow in the shade 363. Now I'm purely starting with the brows first in this transformation just so I know where they'll be, and it will give me the reference point for where I'm going to start doing this scarred, ripped open face wound. Now I say that because usually I'm somebody who starts with the base or the SFX stuff first, but today we're switching things up. With that shadow I'm drawing very straight, diagonal, Vulcan-esque brows just to bring up my facial features and make my eyes look slightly larger. As these brows are much higher than what I'm used to drawing on, I'm going in and cleaning up around the edges with a Max Factor pan stick in the shade 12. I haven't gone in and filled in the brows fully as of yet, but I'm just cleaning them up now so I have a base starting point to get them both even. Getting a nice even base brow down first does really help when you're drawing brows much higher on the face. Once I'm happy with the base that I'm working with, I'm just taking that Inglot shade in 363 again, and I'm using it to define the edges and darken up the tail of the brow. I'm also using the remaining product that's on the brush to do little fine strokes and blend it into the bridge of the nose, because there is nothing worse than a harsh start to the brow, especially when they're this high on the face. Taking that Max Factor pan stick again, I'm using that to cut a line through the brow because this is going to be the reference point of where I want to start the wound around the eye. Now this part doesn't have to be perfect at all, and you can do more than one cut through the brow if you'd like to make it a slightly larger wound, but like with most things, if you're starting with a good base, the end result can be achieved easier. Once I'm happy with where the cut is, I'm going in and doing something that you've seen hundreds of times on my channel. I'm using liquid latex and cotton wool to build up the areas which I want to be raised around the wound. Now you don't have to use cotton wool and latex for this, there is a lot of other things you could use out there. Things that will probably blend into the skin a little bit better, like gelatin. You can also use scar wax to do this, but that is a little bit of a harder product to work with. I'm purely just using liquid latex and cotton wool here to build it up, purely because it's the most readily available and it's something that I have to hand. When it comes to SFX work, that's one thing that I have to remind myself, and I'd like to remind other people to do as well, is to use what you have readily available around you. I always have cotton wool and liquid latex around, and that saves you a lot of time and money when it comes to creating things with SFX work, because it can run up into a lot of money if you start going out and buying new products for every single look that you create. While I'm waiting for that latex to dry down, I'm moving on to the other eye, and I'm just priming the eye with a Maybelline colour tattoo in the shade Creamy Beige. Taking this red eyeshadow that is also by Inglot in the shade 296, I'm applying it all over my lid. I'm really packing that red eyeshadow in so I have full colour payoff, and I'm taking it ever so slightly up into my crease because I do have slightly hooded eyes. The next shadow I'm taking from the same palette is in the shade 308, and it's a nice deep rich plum colour. I'm using that shadow to define my crease, and there's going to be quite a large area to fill in this case, being as we've drawn the brows quite high. So I'm also using it to elongate the eye out at the side, kind of in a cat eye kind of effect, so that it fills the shape and follows along the line where the brow has been placed on the face. You can see that there's a pattern going on here with the brown that I'm using, but I'm just taking the shade 373 and I'm using that to give a brow highlight and also blend in the crease colour by filling up some of that large eye space that we have going on. Now I have all the colour placements down where I want them, I'm just going back in, blending things out, making the colour a little bit more vibrant and tweaking little things here and there with the eyeshadow and brows just till I'm happy with it. Checking to make sure that the latex is fully dried down by now, which it should have done, I'm going in and I'm using a base colour. For my base colour here, I'm going to be mixing two foundations together. I'm going to be mixing MAC Face and Body in the shade White with the Estee Lauder Double Wear in the shade Bone. Now you can see that I'm almost out of the white face and body because it is one of my favourite products to use with foundations because I am very pale. Having a good white foundation laying around might sound a bit crazy, but it is something that really helps in you mixing up matching skin tones. Liquid latex needs a little bit more of a colour payoff to camouflage it into the skin, so to do that I'm using the Max Factor pan stick in the shade 12 again, just to blend in the latex and colour match it to the skin itself. Now that the base is all coloured in and I'm looking like a blank sheet of paper, I'm going in with the Derma colour loose fixing powder, and I'm using on a kabuki brush just to puff that all over the face to set everything in place. Now that my foundation is complete, I'm just applying a lip balm here just so that my lips are hydrated when it comes around to applying the lip colour later. To colour in the inside part of the scar, I'm going to be using a Bruise Wheel by Krylon, and I'm going to be using the red, the grey and a very small amount of the dark purple. For this look, I wanted to step away completely from fake blood. I didn't want to make a fresh wound around the eye. I wanted to make kind of a scar that had been lived in and it had healed over. So this is going to be very muted tones, and I'm just going to be applying that red into the center of it so I can get down a red tone, kind of like a blood under the skin kind of level. I don't want to be doing anything over the top here with areas which would be too red. I want this to look kind of muted, slightly more pink toned. I'm going to be going in and applying some pink later on, but I'm just going to be applying the red to the inside proportions, mixing it in with a little bit of the grey so it kind of mutes it out, and I'm going to be using a very small amount of that darker purple around the edges just to give it a little bit more definition so that the skin looks like it's raised. Now for the pink that I mentioned, and I'm just using a water activated face paint by Snazaroo, and I'm applying that into the middlemost sections of the scar to almost act as a highlight. I'm then using a cream Derma colour in the shade D11 to act as my contour colour to deepen up the edges and give it a little bit more depth again. And where I feel that it's needed, I'm mixing in a little bit of that red from the bruise wheel just to give it a little bit more irritation, but remembering that I don't want to make this to look like a fresh wound. To make the scar look really deep in a very few select areas, I'm just going in with an eye pencil, and I'm using that to go down very gently in a few little specific places just to give it a little bit more contour and shading. Moving back over again to the other eye now to finish it off, I'm applying some more of that red eyeshadow onto my lower lash line and my lower lid just to smoke it out and make it look a little bit more matching in with the top lid itself. I'm then using the Collection 2000 Fast Stroke Liquid Liner, and I'm using that to apply a very thin but drawn out winged line. I wanted to keep the liner very simple and not apply anything too draggy, and as you can see here, I'm all over the place. I'm usually like that with liquid liner, but luckily this time I only have to do it on one eye. I also go in with an eye pencil on both my top and bottom waterlines just to fill everything in. For the lips, I'm using Snob lipstick by MAC, and I'm applying that mostly into the centre parts of my lips. I'm not applying a full lip colour here. I'm concentrating the majority of that colour to the centre parts of my lips, and then I'm just using my finger to smudge it and blur it out as it gets to the edge. Then to help blend that colour out into the skin, to kind of give an ombre effect, I'm applying MAC Studio Fix powder in NC20. Then I'm taking that MAC Studio Fix powder all over my face to bump up the coverage. I was just going to apply mascara and leave the eyes like that, but I decided to take it one step extra and apply some false lashes. Now these false lashes are off of eBay, and I may do a video about these in the future because they are an extremely good find and a bargain considering that these all cost just $1.99. No boring human to elf transformation would be complete without a little bit of contour, or maybe a lot in this case. The contour colour that I'm using here is actually a blush by NYX, and as you can see this little thing has been through the wars, so the name has actually rubbed off, but I will find what one it is online and I'll link it down in the description below along with all of the other products that I've used in this video. For the contour around my face, I simply just applied it to slim my face down to make me look like more of a perfect elf, because humans unfortunately aren't that good looking. It's why I don't particularly want to be one and resent my humanity, but that's another subject. And then I applied some of that same contour colour to my nose to thin it down and connect it up to my brows, as well as under my bottom lip and in a few little other areas which I wanted to recede back from the face and just define a little bit further. The final step to complete the face is changing out the lens in the scarred eye to a white mesh lens. Now these lenses are by Camo Eyes, and a quick shout out to say thank you to them for sending them to me. They are fantastic at giving that blinded effect, but I really don't like them considering as I am pretty much blind and need contact lenses to see. This really throws off my vision, and I'm not about that life. I then just applied my lace front, and I picked up these elf ears off of eBay. Now they are ever so slightly pink, and if I was going to be wearing these out to like a cosplay event or something like that, I probably would paint them to custom match into the foundation colour that I wear, but being as I'm only going to be washing this off after I make this tutorial, they do the job and they are super easy to apply just by clipping them over your ears. I may have had to remove some piercings to get them on though. I had a lot of fun creating this transformation, and although you may not necessarily want to be an elf for Halloween, you can take the idea for this scarred effect and apply it to any other transformation idea that you may have in mind. So yeah guys, that is my demonic blinded elf. I don't know exactly what I'm going to call him transformation complete. I'm sure you'll see it in the title though. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, bye bye.